Good morning, Algebra. Algebra 1. This is Mr. Osborne. I'm going to be going over your Unit 5 review. Just remember that there are 4 different videos. There's one video for each page of the review. And if you have any more questions, you can always contact me at remind.com. Alright, so the first question, we need to take this information, put it in a graph, and figure out where these graphs are going to intersect. Okay? So first, let's go to the paragraph, figure out what these numbers even mean. So again, before I start, remember that we need to create 2 equations. That's the first part, and they're going to have the form y equals m x plus b. Okay, the m is going to be our slope, and we're going to highlight that in pink, and then the b is our starting point. I'm going to highlight that in blue. Okay, so starting with the first sentence, it says, Isabel already has $14 in the bank and is earning $1 per hour babysitting. So this 14, I can look around and see, oh look, there's the word has. The has is the key word there. That means that she has or started with $14. That's our B for her. Then is earning $1 per hour. Okay? The key word there is per. Per hour. And you know that that's going to be the slope when you see that word. So for Isabel, her equation is going to be y equals the m, which is 1, x plus the starting point, or b, which is 14. Okay, so this is Isabel. Okay, now for the next girl, Samantha. So her friend Samantha has only $2 in the bank. Again, there's the word has, $2, but is earning $4 per hour cleaning her neighbor's yard. Okay, so earning $4 per hour. Again, the key word there is per hour, or actually earning is also a key word because that's telling us whether she's increasing or getting less. Okay, so then her equation is going to be y equals m, which is 4, x plus b, which is 2. So this is Samantha. Okay, so now we need to graph these equations on the graph over here. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is figure out, well, what does this axis even represent? What does the x-axis represent? And then what does the y-axis represent? So to do that, we go to one of the slopes. Go back to the actual sentence and just pick either slope, doesn't matter which one. Okay, so the first slope, the word that is after the per word. Now this word could be every. If you look in the next sentence down here, the word's actually every month. In this case it's per. The word that comes after that is going to represent your x. Whatever comes before that represents y. Okay, so in this case, x is hours, so the x-axis represents hours, and the y represents, here, it's dollars. There's no word, but there's a dollar symbol. So actually, let's write this sideways. So, dollars. Okay? Now, it says per hour, so that's per 1 hour. So that means we go by ones. Okay. And now we have to figure out, do I go by ones here for dollars? Well, let's count, because the highest y value we're going to have depends on our starting point. Our starting point is 14, so we need to make sure that 14 will even fit on the graph, and that our lines will fit. So if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 14 won't even fit if I just go by ones. So what I'm going to do is go by twos, so that the graph will actually fit. Now in some cases, you might not have to go by twos or go by a different number. You can go by ones, but in this case, because it doesn't fit, I have to go by twos. Okay? So now, again, we're going to start with the starting point. That's why we call it the starting point, because that's where they started. So for Isabel, she started at 14, so that's my first point on the graph. And remember, you always start right here on the y-axis. And then she increases $1 every hour. So we start at 14, and we're going to increase by 1. So 14 plus 1 is 15. Now 15 is not here. That's 16 there. So 15 is right between 14 and 16. So I go up, So I go up 1 and then over 1. And why do I go over? Well, at 1 hour, after 1 hour, she makes another $1. So remember, the 1 is down here. So 1 hour, $15. And then I do it again. I go up 1 and then over 1. Okay? Because after 2 hours, she makes $16. Okay? Then again, I go up 1, over 1, 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 up 1, over 1. Okay? And then what I need to do is connect all those dots together. And on the test, you want to use a ruler and label it. So that's Isabel. Okay? Now we're going to do the same thing for Samantha. Now Samantha starts at $2, and then she charges $4 every hour, or earns $4 every hour. Okay, so 2 plus 4 is 6, so I go up to 6, and then over 1. Okay, then plus 4 again is 10, and then over 1. Plus 4 over 1 is 14. Plus 4 again is 18, then over 1. And there's the point where they are the same. But I need to keep going. So plus 4 over 1 is 22. Okay, and that's as far as I can go. So now, connect the lines, and again, use a ruler so your lines are much nicer and straighter. Samantha. Okay, and that's where they intersect, is right there. Okay, and that point is, for x is 4, and it lines up with 18 for the y. Okay, so over here when I answer this question, actually let's talk about the slope real quick. Another way to look at how to do the slope, because some of you guys might be confused on why do you go over 1? Okay, well the slope, again for Isabel, is 1. Okay, and the slope for Samantha is 4. I can also represent this a different way. I can put the slope over 1. It's still the same number. It doesn't change if you put it over 1. But now, if you guys remember, when we look at slope, we look at the top number is the rise, and the bottom number is the run. Rise over run. So I'm going to rise 1, and I'm going to run over 1. So here, I went up 1 and over 1. Here, I'm going to rise 4, up 4, but then go over 1. So that's another way to look at it. Okay? So now we just need to answer the question, after we've got our answer, what's the 4 and what's the 18? Because it's asking, what does this point represent? So first, what's the point? It's 4 and 18. And then what does it represent? Well, at 4, and 4 is on the x scale, which is hours. So at 4 hours, they will have, well, the 18 is on the y scale, and that represents dollars, so they'll both have $18. So in other words, they'll both make the same amount of money at 4 hours. Even though Isabel only charges $1 per hour, she charges more in the beginning. Okay, so those are your answers right there. Okay, all right, now the next question. This one's a little different. Okay. But we still need to look for the same information because we're still going to start off by creating two equations. Okay, so we need to, again, find the slope in the starting point. Blake collects stamps and already has a significant collection, so he has a lot. Currently, he has 191 stamps. So as I go through, I'm just going to start highlighting. So the key word there, has, again, 191 stamps. And also another key word is currently. Currently means like right now. That's where I'm starting. Currently, right now, in the beginning, we're starting with 191. So that's the B, okay, the starting point. And every month, he goes on the internet and purchases 11 more. So every month, okay, he gets 11 more. So usually this number and this part is together, but in this case they're separated. But they're still all in the same part of the sentence. So every month he gets 11 more. So that's your slope. Okay, so let's write the equation right away for him. So for Blake, his equation is going to be the M is 11, the B is 191. So 11x plus our starting point, which is 191. Okay, then we'll do the same thing for the other guy. Benjamin started collecting stamps recently and only has 65. So he has 65. Okay, and again, has is the key word. But fortunately, he is busy purchasing 17 stamps every month. Okay, so, oops, sorry, wrong color. Okay, 17 stamps every month. Again, the key word there is every, or purchasing, meaning that he's getting more. Okay, and that's our M. Again, that's our B. So here, Y equals M, which is 17, X, you always put X, then plus the starting point, which for him, he starts with 65. Okay, so now, again, the question is the same thing just like last time. In how many months will Blake and Benjamin have the same amount of stamps in their collection? Okay, now in this case, you notice we don't have a graph here, so we're going to solve this differently. This would be difficult to graph because look how big these numbers are. I would have to make either a really big graph, or I'd have to go by really large numbers here on this scale here. So the best way to solve this is we're going to solve this with algebra as equations. So we're going to take this first equation and the second equation, bring them down here, and then set them equal to each other. So we're going to take 11x, and I'm going to drop off the y. Okay, and I'm going to set it equal to the other one, which is 17x plus 65. And now we can just solve for x and then figure out figure out the answer. All right. Now remember, as you go through this, you want to be careful on what you're taking away from each side. And so what I like to do is set up a line to divide the problem to keep ourselves organized. So first I start on the left. On the left side, I want the x term to stay. Okay, on this side, I want the constant or the number term to stay. So on this side, if I just want the x to remain here, that means the 11x, I want it to stay, but then this 191, I want it to go away. So now to get rid of 191, I have to subtract it because it's positive. So in order to make it 0, I have to I have to subtract it because it's positive. And then I have to subtract it from the other side. And I know some of you guys are thinking, well, can't I just subtract 65 from both sides? Yeah, you could do that too. Either way is fine. You could put x on this side as well, for you guys that are thinking that. Alright, so then what I have left now is just 11x on this side, and then over here, 17x, and then 65 minus 191. And go ahead and just take out your calculator if you can't do that in your head. Okay, and you'll get negative 126. Okay, so now I started on the left side. Now I have to go to the right side. Now again, I want the term that is just a number without x on this side. So that means that the 17x does not belong. So I'm going to get rid of it, and it's positive, so I subtract it from both sides. Okay, that cancels out because it becomes 0. And now I do 11 minus 17. Well, that's going to be 6. And 17 is bigger, and it's negative, so this one has to be negative. Just like when I subtracted here, the 191 is bigger, and it's negative, so that's negative. Okay, and then I bring down the negative 126. And now the last step is I have to get rid of that 6 by dividing it, okay, or the negative 6. So I divide negative 6 both sides. And then negative 126 over 6, well, that's 21. Negative over positive gives us, negative over negative gives us a positive. so 21. Okay. So the question was, in how many months will Blake and Benjamin have the same amount of stamps in their collection? And how many stamps will they have? Well, I have to have two values here. One, I have to know how many months, and I have to know how many stamps. So how do I know which value is which? Okay, well, the x, I can figure that out by going to the slope, just like we did in the last problem. Now the slope here is 17 stamps every month. Now remember the word after per or every or each, that's your x. Okay, the one that's before is your y. So months represents x, or x represents months, and y represents stamps. So if x equals 21, then that means this is our months, how long it'll take. But now we need to find y, because we want to know how many stamps will they have in 21 months. So what you do is you pick one of the equations. It doesn't matter which one. Pick the one that looks the easiest to work with. I'm going to pick this one because it has what I feel like smaller numbers. And then you take your x, and you're going to plug it into x. So now 17, and anytime I plug something into a variable, I always write parentheses to remind myself I need to multiply. So 17 times 21 plus 65. Okay, so now 17 times 21, I'm going to pull up my calculator real quick. Do that real quick. So 17 times 21 is 357. And then plus 65 is going to be 422. Now remember, we figured out that the y represents stamps, so this is stamps. But let's write a sentence for our final answer here. Okay, so at 21 months, they will have 422 stamps. Okay? Alright, that's page 1. If you want to see page 2, go to the next video.